you just, congratulations, first of all. You were in the All-25, voted the fourth best player in Jags history, which I think is an incredible honor. I think you're rightly deserved. I'm sure in your own mind you say, hey, I could have probably moved up a couple spots because that's the way everybody thinks, and that's a fair thought. Maybe 3, maybe 2, maybe 1. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think 4 is a good spot for you and a fair spot for you if you voted amongst the fans. What was your reaction to that?
Well, anytime you're ranked in an organization and you get the opportunity to, be amongst some of those greats, like a guy that I played with, Fred Taylor or Mark Brunell or Jimmy Smith, and, seeing some of my buddies in there that have been on it. I mean, that's amazing. Obviously, as a competitor, everyone wants to be number one. I don't think there's one person on there, even Rasheem, and I saw what he said. Rasheem still thinks he's the best player in franchise history. That's why we loved each other, because we competed at a high level. And so you always want to get that recognition to be number one. But to be up there for me, it's awesome. I mean, again, my wife loved it. My son loved it. A lot of people that I work with were happy and saying congratulations. And I appreciate that, because it does mean a lot to me that a lot of the hard work that we put in is being recognized for some, obviously being a part of a great franchise.
And by the way, I think this is a fun thing. I don't really think it should be, hey, my goodness, I can't believe this guy wasn't here or this guy wasn't there. I don't think it's a personal thing for anybody. But at the same time, I do think we should shout out to Maurice Jones-Drew, because if you look at the context of where he ranks in that list, the Jags' first 5-6 years were phenomenal here in Jacksonville. Well, Maurice played in an era where it wasn't as good. So to be listed number 4, Mojo, I think says a lot about how people respected your game and the way you played and what you did in Jacksonville. Because if you look at the guys around you in that top 7, they're all from the mid to late 90s.
Well, no, and I appreciate that. I wish that they had you speak about me, but it was good to see Vic Hedgeman talk about me. It was good to see some of the other guys talk. But, we didn't have the best. We always didn't see eye to eye in those locker room meetings, but I appreciate that. It means a lot. Even Mark Long had something positive to say with negativity. So,
hey, by the way,
those were
Mark, you're second on his list, and Mercedes Lewis is number 1.
there you go. So I appreciate that. But again, it's you said it best. It's all in fun. It's something to hang your hat on. For me, it's important that my kids get to see that, because there's times where, and this, Brent, because we talk a lot. I didn't see my kids a lot during football, during the off season, because I would just go away to train. So it just shows them that, you work hard for certain things. And I'm just happy my boys and my daughter gets to see that a lot.
Oh, by the way, you'll be in the pride of the Jaguars someday. You should be. I don't know when that day is coming. I hope it comes soon. I think there are other guys that have earned it and deserve it too. And I think some are debatable, whether it's Brad Meester or Keenan McCardell. I mean, we can talk and debate about that. I don't really like to debate about that much, but it should happen and will happen for Maurice Jones-Drew. You don't even have to comment about that, man. That will happen at some point down the road. I'm going to read you Fred Taylor. So he was voted number 2 on the list, which makes Tony Boselli will be the number 1 player. And you know how much Big Bo's beloved here in Jacksonville as the first pick, and he could be going to Canton this year in the 25th season of the team. But Fred just put this out on Twitter when he heard the news about this, and I'm going to read it to you. And it surprises me. I want your reaction. I'm not sure who voted, but they missed. What were you guys doing for the 11 years, in capital letters, I carried the team? One day someone, quote, in parentheses, other than me, will recognize how valuable I was. I did something only 21 players in the history of the game done at my position. # what a joke.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm definitely one of those players. I was there. Like, I saw what Fred was able to do, and I'm a big-time Fred Taylor supporter. You know that.
Yep.
And we text last night. We text last night about it. Let's be transparent. I feel like Fred is the best player in our franchise. I understand why Tony Boselli would be number 1, though, as well. You were the first draft pick, all pros, Pro Bowls. You had a shorter season, but, he's still in the city. He's very much in the organization. I speak with him a lot as well, because we do both cross paths during the media stuff. And he's deserving as well. I'm going to be biased because I play the running back position. But I know 11 years at that position to play the way Fred played, I can understand why he's upset.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Like, people always tell me, I was lucky. And let me say this. And again, I never played with Tony Boselli, so I can't say I can't really measure their careers. I was blessed and fortunate enough to get drafted to Jacksonville to learn how to play the position behind one of the greats. I personally feel like a guy at his size and speed, and I know he has some injury histories, but when we got there and you saw this, Brent, I mean, we were unstoppable. And a lot of the stuff that I learned, the way my game trains from college to pros, was because of Fred Taylor and Kennedy Pola. And so I definitely feel that, rushing for 10,000 yards for one franchise, you're never going to see people do that ever again. That'll never happen again. Yeah. I know people may think Saquon, people may think some of these younger backs, but Fred did something that pretty tough to do. And so, I understand his frustration.
Yeah, I respect all those thoughts, too. And I don't know if I disagree with a lot of those thoughts. I think you could certainly have put Fred Taylor as the number one player. Again, I looked at this as a fun thing, so I didn't highly debate it as much. But now that if you want to debate it, and here's where Fred's coming from a bit, because he's getting no Hall of Fame consideration, and he should.
Exactly.
He should. Tony Boselli should have been in the Hall of Fame 5 years ago, and Fred Taylor should be considered for the Hall of Fame, and down the road, Jimmy Smith should be considered for the Hall of Fame. So Fred's saying, hey, if I'm not even the best player running back in my own franchise's history, how are we supposed to get everybody outside of Jacksonville to view that and give me some love? And so I kind of get his point. I guess I was a little bit taken aback, Maurice, with kind of the tone of it that happened on social media in the last hour from Fred. But I do understand if his stance on it.
Well, again, you got to remember, I mean, Fred definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and we can't read. It's like a text message. You can't really read into how someone's saying it. We try to, but you shouldn't do that. And so, I mean,
I thought that was my job, Maurice.
No, well, you know what? Being in the media, it is our job to do that, but I try not to because.
Well, you talked to him last night.
I know Fred. Well, yeah. Well, I know Fred a lot, and I know Fred really well. And Fred is not a loud person. He's not an outspoken person. But when he does speak, he means what he says. And so, that's something coming from his heart. And that, at least for me, that's how I want every person that I want to be around. Tell me how you really feel so I know how to, I know your emotions. And so he's telling people that remember they had the whole Fragile Freddy thing that I was like, which is crazy, right? Because this dude is playing, he was playing with all these different type of surgeries and things and still playing at a high level. So, I get it. I understand his frustration, man. I wish that, and it's my job to continue to try to pump Fred up as much as possible because to me, there was no other guy. He could catch the ball out of the backfield. He could run past guys. He could run you over. He could block. He did everything that you wanted a running back to do. And a lot of people shape their games after him. And that's what you want. You want a guy like that.
I think if you argue this point, it might even be saying, hey, that's a knock against Boselli. I'm not even going to do that. What I will say is if Fred Taylor was voted number one on this list, I wouldn't have blinked an eye.